With everyone's permission, I'd like to call the meeting of the Public Safety Committee to order at 11:34 a.m. on August 18th. All right. Can the clerk please call the roll?
Sure. Legislator Ryan? Here. Legislator Knapp?
Here.
Legislator Block?
Here.
Legislator McCarron?
Here.
Chair Garland.
All right, here. First order of business is the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. Are there any objections to the previous meeting? Seeing none, the meetings are approved. All right, everyone. Our first order of business on the agenda is the presentation from Commissioner Daniel Weirs from the Department of Emergency Management. Daniel, if you will join us. All right. Now, because this is being streamed, would you introduce yourself when you start time? Thank you. We appreciate it.
Good morning.
Yeah. Okay. There it is.
Testing.
Yeah.
I think we're on.
Yeah, you can
All right.
slide it around if you want. There it is.
Good morning. For those of you who haven't met, I'm Dan Weirs, the Commissioner of Emergency Management for the county. So I could obviously talk about what we do for far too long and probably put most of you to sleep. But we will kind of go through a quick overview, kind of answer any questions you have, for me to try to avoid going down some of those rabbit holes that may bore some of you, but interesting stuff to us and stuff that we like doing. So our department as a whole really has three very closely associated mission areas, right? Fire, EMS, and emergency management. Makes a lot of sense of why they're together. So being asked to talk more on the emergency management side, I'm going to focus more of my comments on that, but if there's fire EMS questions, happy to talk about that too as we go. Mm-hmm. So our primary focus is county level planning, right? And those plans focus on how we respond and how we support local jurisdictions. In New York State, the local jurisdictions have the authority for pretty much everything, unless it's something that the county has authority for, such as public health or something like that, right? So the majority of that falls back to the town supervisors, village mayors, where the ultimate authority lies. So kind of looking at this globally and how we do this with the number of players we work with. So we work with all the public safety agencies, we work with the hospitals, National Grid, Red Cross, other county departments, pretty extensive list of agencies. So how we coordinate, how we work with them really focuses on committees and different planning groups that exist. So within the county, we have the Disaster Preparedness Committee, we call it. That is our LEPC, which is Local Emergency Preparedness Committee, which is required by federal law for us to have, with some focus on hazmat. Long before me, we renamed it something different. I can't tell you why, but it is stuck and we're not going to change it because everybody knows what it is. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much a general open meeting to any agency or organization that has some kind of play in the emergency response or recovery realm, right? So it could be home care agencies, infrastructure partners, other not-for-profits, other public safety agencies are able to attend that. Additionally, we have a County Emergency Preparedness Committee. That is more focused on county departments and key partners, large partners that have a very large stake in our preparedness and response recovery efforts. That is also focused on agencies that have a seat in the county's Emergency Operations Center, which I'll talk a little bit more about with that. So those are two of our key committees. Additionally, to make sure we're integrating with other partners, we also work with the Fire Chiefs Association, the Police Chiefs Association, the EMS Directors Association. We attend their meetings, have conversations, feedback, right, with them, and we use that information to inform our larger county level plans. So how we do it, we do hazard vulnerability assessment every 3 years, which is currently done by the New York State and coordinated by them. Every county is required to do it. It's a county emergency preparedness assessment that looks at our hazards that we face here and works at ranking them of what we are most likely to occur, what the impacts of those are. And it also looks at the county's capabilities to identify where we have strengths and where we have things that we need to continue to work on and improve. In our world, everything's always improving. There's always things that we can do to do a better job when we look at those capabilities. And kind of a little bit about capabilities, I think that's, when we talk like that, some people have a hard time understanding what that means. But it's things such as emergency operations center management, mass care and sheltering, firefighting, communications, public alert warning. There's a long list of them, but those are some of the examples. I often look at this and describe this as more of a toolbox. Our job is to build the county's toolbox and help build the county's toolbox. So that way, whenever we are faced with an emergency, we decide which capabilities are most relevant and are going to have the greatest impact on the outcome of that emergency. So that, and really, we look at that kind of from an all hazards perspective. We focus on those capabilities that are going to apply regardless of what the emergency is, communications as such, EOC management. Those all play in. So when we have something happen, kind of like being at home, you look in your toolbox, you figure out what tools you need to respond, and those are the ones we activate, right? So during COVID, a lot of that was in our human needs area. So activating, feeding, obviously testing, vaccination, other stuff. And I think one of the key things here is that we don't do all of these, right? This is about collaborating and coordinating with partners, right? We don't do public health. We don't do sheltering. It's working with the agencies that do, understanding their capabilities, understanding how they integrate into our system, our network here, and making sure we have established relationships in ways to work with them when they're needed. So I don't want to overstate it and make you think that our department is doing all of these capabilities. It's more of coordinating all of the partners that work together on it. So some of the other stuff that goes on, a lot of what we do is in this preparedness phase, monitoring what's going on in the community, special events, knowing what's happening, knowing what resources are like in the community, working with ambulance agencies to understand if they're stretched thin as we have large events and other stuff, weather monitoring, kind of keeping tabs on that, working with the National Weather Service, another one of those partners at the beginning that I didn't mention. There are a lot that I didn't mention. But working with them, communicating with them, and then sharing that information out with public safety agencies and towns and villages as we get get information from them where it reaches a certain threshold. We don't just push out information every time I get a briefing from the National Weather Service, because I'd probably be blocked on a lot of people's email. So we try to gauge that to where it's most applicable and potentially going to have a community impact throughout the county. A couple other things in the preparedness for us. This is really where the last year we really focused on improving our citizen preparedness and community outreach. This was something that we did not do, we were not great at prior to this. With the legislature's support and the county executive support, we were able to add a position of a citizen preparedness and community outreach coordinator. And that is something that we've been very fortunate with this year, but involved a lot more community events than we ever have, a lot more active in social media, pushing messaging, attending those events. I believe that the better prepared individuals are and residents are, the better off we will be as a community when we have something large happen, and we will have a better outcome from that because they'll be able to take care of themselves, are more likely able to take care of themselves, and have less of a draw on public safety and NGOs. Pull a little closer. You got it. I just realized I use an acronym. I use acronyms frequently. I'm trying not to. If there's one I use, let me know.
I'm writing them all down. You should go speed right through.
You can't get them all. There's a lot. So then kind of one of the other big areas that we work on is training and exercise, and that's based on those plans that we write and working with those partners. Really, hopefully we never have to implement them for real. So one of the things we focus on is how we train people. We share information about those plans and make sure they're aware of those plans, but then also exercising those plans. Typically for us, that's a tabletop exercise, as we call it, which is a discussion focused around an incident, a hazard, and focusing back on those capabilities and the coordination, communication with other agencies. And so depending on what those are, we include different people, different agencies in those to test our plans, to identify areas for improvement, and then also to really identify things that we're really doing well as a community. I think we do a lot of really great things with our partner organizations. And so when we highlight those and we find out we're doing something really well, or maybe something that's not documented, we really try to take that and carry that over into other plans to make sure we're including it in those lessons learned and best practices for us locally. So that's a continuous effort and cycle for us to keep doing those exercises. Some of the about response. So the way we are activated for response, so on our smaller scale response, we have notifications through 911 as an established list of criteria, and when one of those triggers are hit, 911 will notify us of what is going on. Sometimes that will trigger a field response. Sometimes that will trigger just some enhanced monitoring and paying attention to what is going on, right? Knowing that there could be an increased resource deployment to one area, which could shift resources away from another community. So it's monitoring that, monitoring what's going on, and then if we feel appropriate, we would someone would go to the scene and help with those on-scene responders, particularly as something grows. So mass casualty incidents are one, structure fires are another. infrastructure failures, and then we always have our blanket of whenever requested, right? So that could be through a public safety agency, it could be through the authority having jurisdiction, really kind of depends, but whenever we're asked from the public safety agency or town or village, we'll respond, we'll offer assistance. The majority of our response is in the field and it's on scene. For example, last year, I think it was last fall, where Jordan experienced some flooding, and some of those thresholds were hit, and then we were asked to go out and assist the Jordan Fire Department with some of the flooding efforts there. Additionally, we have some instances with no 911 notification. I think that a lot of people believe that most of our stuff comes from 911, and actually a lot of it does not. And a lot of it comes from working with our partners. It could be National Grid calling us before weather, letting us know kind of the state of their infrastructure and how they're feeling about where it stands at that present time. It could be, we've worked with them where they've had to shut power off for various reasons with the potential community impact. So where we can help support and connect them with other non-governmental organizations to if something were to happen, or hospitals. We talked about weather a little bit. Most recently, probably a good example of this, probably the Cicero flooding, Oneida Lake flooding this spring. And this kind of talks also to where the town and villages have authority over this. So no 911 notification here of what was going on. It was more of the relationships and working with the town of Cicero and the agencies there. It was a town road, a lot of communication with the highway department and offering assistance, offering resources, offering ideas, but it was their road. And so we really follow their lead and provide that support where necessary. So in this case, it was sandbags and a sandbag filler and variable message boards to help with their road closure. So again, it was their road, it was their decisions, and we were there to help and support them as we would with any municipality. As things grow, we get into the Emergency Operations Center, which is the last time it was fully active was for COVID for 88 days. Since then, it's been the solar eclipse from a planned event, as well as the winter storm right around Christmas of last year, where we activated preemptively based on some of the information we got from the National Weather Service. But that works in 4 different levels. Steady state is every day. We consider it active. It's hot. It's ready to go. We're fortunate. Other communities aren't that lucky where it's usually a cold site, which to us means they've got to bring in computers, they've got to bring in TVs, and they have to set it up. Ours is ready to go at any given time with everything set up and established and ready to go. So then that wraps up to a partial activate or enhanced monitoring, which is typically for weather or special events. If we have indications that there's could be potential impacts to the community, we'll do that. That's mostly our office staff. And then it increases to partial activation, then full activation, right? So we will target agencies depending on what is going on, right? Or if they may have a potential impact to that, or whether it's resources that could help it, or they're gonna have information, or part of what they own is part of the cause, right? From an infrastructure perspective. So there's 32 seats in the EOC, 34 actually, sorry. And that is made up of all of our partners, public safety, healthcare, transportation, infrastructure, that really will come together to help coordinate and resource management and support to the response in the scene or on the scene. I think one of the key things is that an EOC does not take over. Right, so the Emergency Operations Center does not run the entire incident. It supports the incident and supports the municipalities and the agencies who are. Right. And then it's a lot of that resource management into and out of the county. So if we need resources from outside of the county, that is where those requests come in. Yes.
Could you just clarify what that means when you say resource management and the kind of the support role?
Yeah, so from the research, and kind of that's somewhere I'm going a little bit with the resource management. Like, if agencies need resources, right? All resources are scarce, right? We don't have them necessarily. Those requests from those agencies would come to the county, and if we can source them within that room or within another agency that has direct control or ownership of that, then we would use that there. If we can't do it, we have to try to purchase it or procure it through purchasing, and then we go to the state and ask for those resources.
So this is materials, not necessarily staffing or bodies or
It's everything. It's both, right? So in the same thing in the reverse, that when something happens outside of our county, we're the mechanism to support those other communities. So the most recent example of that really is the Christmas Day snowstorm. I'm seeing a trend. It's 2 snowstorms at Christmas, but the Christmas Day snowstorm in Buffalo, when they had the deaths and all the other stuff out there, when they needed resources, theirs requests went through the state, and then they went down to counties to help source them. So in that case, I believe it was Syracuse Fire sent rescue company for support with building stabilization and search. And then also, like the medical examiner's office sent investigators to assist with the death investigations that had to occur. So we're the mechanism that brings resources in and out of the county for that. Or like,
And do you have like an authority that you can force, like say, hey, Syracuse, we need you to go, or are they willing to go, you're just helping coordinate it?
we coordinate. There is no authority to force them to go. And even, go ahead.
So like, I'll use 9/11 as an example, because I was assigned to our basement of the Civic Center back then. Literally, it's a big room and representatives from all the police agencies are there, EMS agencies. And I remember brand new sergeant, get a call on the midnight shift, NYPD sergeant looking for the helicopter. I was given the authority to deploy that. So I call in the pilots. When we deployed personnel to Freshkill and Staten Island to go through debris, it all ran through the Emergency Operations Center. So the people with the authority to make those decisions are in the room with them, and they just coordinate all that.
So we're the coordinator. We're not the, we can't, so when we look to build out the EOC, we try to have 3 to 5 people per agency that are in there, right, that are not in there every time, that are trained, know how to get there, know how to get in there, know how to use the computer, know how to use our systems.
It's a crazy calm. You would think all this nut stuff is going on, but it's so well organized within the center that it goes so much more smoother than you would think it would.
For those of us that visited, it's like CIC, Combat Information Central in the military, because that was on my list. You mentioned some of the organizations, agencies that have a seat. So who are some of the ones that have a seat there?
Yeah, so there's dedicated seats that we have, and then we also have swing space where we can change that up. So I'll kind of, in my head, visually walk through the room where so 911's got a seat, as well as like the EOC will have a public information officer. They sit together for the communications desk.
Yeah.
We have a public safety pod, which is the troopers, the sheriff's office, city police, city fire, county EMS, county fire, which obviously we don't have an EMS or fire agency. That's our deputy coordinators, our part-timers who work with them, and their job is to communicate with the 53 fire departments and the 18 transporting agencies, right, when something's going on, to make sure they have information, and as resource requests are needed, can go back and forth with it. Across the way is our mass care and health desks. That's the county health department. It's the Red Cross. It's our human needs group, which is a committee that we work on and run that focuses on food, water, shelter, transportation during an incident. State Health has a desk there. This is where we have some of the swing space for intergovernmental or National Weather Service. And then we have Aqua, National Grid, WEP, DOT, state DOT, county DOT, city DPW, National Grid, Aqua, WEP. Central still got a seat there. I should know all of these, but there's too many of them that you forget, right? National Weather Service has got a seat.
You don't have to do it too often, right?
Management budget, county planning as our GIS experts. So IT has a seat from an IT support role within the room.
It's well represented.
So that is the goal.
Sorry, I'm just
No, that's
learning
great
a lot
question.
about
Like
this.
I said,
I mean, I told you, I can talk about this all day, but you're not going to want
Yeah.
it, right?
So like, what do you got for staff size over there?
So staff size right now, it's 12 full-time.
Okay.
Then we also have 10 part-time fire investigators, which don't really fall under the true emergency management part. They do fire cause and origin investigations for all of the fire departments outside the city of Syracuse within the county. Anytime they have a fire, it's their legal responsibility to determine the cause and origin. But the county has took that over decades ago to support them because they can't maintain that expertise and training. I got another 15 to 18 part-time deputy coordinators who do a lot of that field response and the direct coordination with agencies in a preparedness phase as well. There's a animal response team, which is all volunteer through, they're county volunteers through New York State Ag and Markets. That's a really complicated one when you get down into the indemnification, but that's another group of about 15 people who do large animal rescue, as well as small animal sheltering. If we had to open a general population shelter, they would be able to open a domesticated pet shelter with people, so people can bring their pets.
I would venture to guess the counties surrounding us don't have the infrastructure we have in this department.
Correct.
Do they have it at all?
Yes, at different degrees, and everywhere, every county you go to is going to be very different, right? When you go back to that hazard vulnerability and what they look at and what they do, right? So Wayne County, Oswego County, heavy nuclear focus. We don't have to have the nuclear focus so much. There's also difference in structures and organizations where, some have their EMS coordinator in their office, some have the fire coordinator in their office, some have the county coroner, some have code enforcement like we do, some have 911, some don't. Like it varies from county to county of what you're gonna see.
Okay.
But I would say immediately adjacent to us, we have the most resources and the largest staff of our immediate neighbors.
If you were to try to expand your purview, what would you?
I think it's pretty big right now. There's a lot going on, right? I think it's, there's always work to do in this area, right? I think that that's something that we have to continue to focus on. I think that having fire and EMS in our county together with emergency management is great. I think that that's a really good model because we work so closely with them anyway, and so why we have it that way, right? So it used to be EMS was in the health department, fire was its own, but we're talking back in early 2000s, late 90s, so it changed.
And you've been very proactive, I like to say, trying to look at anything that might happen. So does anyone else have any questions? I have some, but I just...
Yeah, just for conversation, we know we got you the new mobile command center. And we just saw Syracuse Police requested a new one based on the shooting of the 2 officers not having it. But how in size does ours compare to SPD's?
Their current one,
Yeah.
ours is larger.
Okay. Yeah, and I've seen ours, and it will definitely need, I kind of asked that question as a bait, just to show the need for Syracuse Police, because we saw with that response, what they had was insufficient.
Right. And we
Actually,
did
we
bring
brought
it.
in
We
ours.
brought it. We
Right.
brought it to support them.
100%, right, and that was the next part of it, because it was such a large, prolonged incident, so.
And that's the goal of ours. The goal of ours is to support public safety agencies.
100%, right, thank you.
And ours has the ability for drone technology,
Yeah.
where Syracuse's old one doesn't.
Yep.
So they could be watching the drones
Right.
inside, protected.
That was on my list also.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any other
No,
questions?
I just throw in, Dan and his team, particularly during COVID, just absolutely incredible job. I can remember in the parking garage running into Dan, and his eyes were about this big because of caffeine and bloodshot. And I was like, "When's the last time you slept?" But even just recently, last year when we had the Aqua water main break out in Manlius and DeWitt, and that Dan's team was the one handing out water and coordinating a lot of the efforts, getting that done. Last thing that was really, really, really good was last year, and this was Dan's idea, not mine. I want to preface that. But he called me up and said, "Hey, we need to do an emergency exercise, and we'd like to simulate the Lafayette Apple Festival has a gas line that runs underneath it. It actually does. And we'd like to do a simulation of that actually bursting during the festival." And so we did it, and it was absolutely incredible. It was a table exercise, kind of like we did in the military, but we probably had 30 people around the table. Everybody from New York State National Weather Service out of Binghamton had a representative there, state DOT, county DOT, the various health departments. But the best of all was we had the local fire departments from the southern end of the county down there. And I think with the stuff that they learned was just irreplaceable, as far as, everything from, how to coordinate assets and to just the very, at one point Dan says, "Okay, it's been 48 hours, Lafayette. None of you guys have gone home or slept. What are you going to do? They're starting to drop." Just to get you thinking about, you got to have backup. And so, that's the kind of stuff. They're active in our community, and do a great
That's
job.
I would say one of our newer initiatives too, with like the citizen preparedness part, is really, again, with the support of the legislature and the county executive, we were able to add a person that could do that, right? And do exercises, and we've been offering that to all public safety agencies and municipalities that we will come to your community, help do put on an exercise to meet their objectives, right? It's not our objectives, our plans, it's theirs, right? So how do we do a better job with that? So that's something we're actively trying to increase and to do more of for the purposes, as Legislator Knapp said.
Okay, any other questions other than that? If not, I have one. Dan Romeo, unfortunately wasn't able to make it, but I did call you. The audit, I've explained it, but if you can just explain the process, the steps, when you might have the results and when you might be able to come in and share that with us.
So just I'll go back from the beginning a little bit, right? With the legislature appropriated funds to do a emergency medical services study of the system as a whole. And that's, we're nearing the end of a 12-month study, and that study is looking at everything from dispatch to transfer of care at the hospitals of the patients. And not, just to clarify, not so much 911, their process procedures, but more at what we dispatch, how we dispatch, who we dispatch, state regulations, how they impact our dispatch, right? So it's more of that side, not, is 911 following step one versus, their procedure exactly. Through that transfer of care and looking at that. So over the past pretty close to a year now, I believe, we've hired a contractor to do that who has national level expertise and does these studies all over the country. They've done a few in New York State, so they are familiar with New York State EMS and New York State EMS regulations. And they have met with ambulance directors, they've met with fire departments, they've met with hospitals, they've met with 911. They are meeting with towns and villages soon with the mayors and supervisors to hear any feedback from them. And it's been a lot of data analysis as well, with 911 providing CAD data of dispatch times and transport times and as such. So we're looking at that coming out, middle to late September. There'll be an initial draft provided by the vendor. Last we heard, I think it was 138 pages, kind of covering that entire gamut with that their goal is to provide recommendations for how we can improve the system as a whole.
Great.
And what those come back, it could be various things of agencies working together, right? It could, where that's going to come, we don't have exact insight into, and that's been very intentional to make sure that it's unbiased, to make sure that the contractor provides us the best recommendations that they see fit from their expertise.
All right.
Yeah, that's a huge issue going on in the county right now. This stuff is very, very expensive, especially for some of these small towns that are trying to get coverage for their community. Just finding the EMTs is tough, but the cost is prohibitive, and so. We've got counties around us doing various things, everything from one county setting up their own county system to another county that has pre-positioned paramedics around the county to kind of be the first one in a go car or whatever you want to call it, get there quick first, stabilize the patient while they're waiting for the ambulance to get there. So, a lot of different possibilities here, but big issue. So.
No, go ahead.
So this is a one-time audit, not like an annual audit?
Correct, yeah, so it's one thing that we did include in the...
More of a study than an audit.
Yeah, it's more of a study, right, to look at staffing levels and response, and, historically, we're a full advanced life support system where an ALS ambulance goes to every single call in the community. Even if you stubbed your toe last week, you were getting a paramedic. And so looking at different, obviously that's an extreme example, but looking at different call types and determinants out of 911, can we send BLS ambulance, so basic life support, which is 2 paramedics, which is a lower level of care, but it's probably in a more appropriate level of care, with the goal of better managing that as a more advanced level of care, and those assets to be available and ready to go when ALS is really needed. So it could cover all of that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this request for the study came from increasing response times, because say town of DeWitt or Fayetteville or Manlius, which has paid ambulance service for that municipality, if they're leaving the hospital, they would often get dispatched as the closest ALS provider to numerous calls back to back to back in the city. Now, the Manlius taxpayers are paying for the city of Syracuse to have an ambulance service, and then they're not getting the services there, which would increase response times in that area. It's also particular in rural communities also, where you may have one ambulance, Tully ambulance maybe, for Tully, Fabius, Lafayette, and Pompey. So if they get one call, there's not always a second crew available. So I think it's something, and a lot of the delay was how long the turnover at the hospital was. I mean, the ambulance would get to the ER and sometimes wait 30, 40 minutes. So I think
It'd
that,
be 4 hours.
right, I was being nice. It's such a great study to see where little steps or maybe big steps, and it could be, very, it could change the whole EMS system in central New York.
One of the things where I was starting that last thought I had, and I'll finish it because it's that one of the things we wrote in there was that they have to give us their data, their analytics that they did, so that we can replicate that analysis moving forward, right? So we're not, in short, they're going to give us their Excel file with all of their formulas that we can use moving forward, which is much more in-depth and comprehensive than anything we've been able to do previously internally.
And how much autonomy do we have over, talking about EMS in particular in a situation like that, to control whether they're allowed to go back to DeWitt or have to sit in the city?
They are state regulated, and so that is one of the things that we've talked about with the vendors. That some of the recommendations coming back could be, where can we lobby the state to make changes to the regulations that dictate them. So it could be, some recommendations could be zero cost to the county. We don't know, I'm sure there'll be some of those, but
Or some could be expensive.
some could be expensive.
And I mean, it got to the point where some ambulance companies were not clearing the hospital, notifying the 911 say they were clear of the hospital, and shutting off their GPS until they got back in district.
Okay. Well, of course, Dan, we just want to thank you. I did reach out to you. Let us know what you might need. We do
Thank you for
start-
what you guys
yeah,
do.
Yes,
Yeah, do the
yes.
organizations.
Well, thank you. So if no one else has any questions, all right. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, so, all right, folks, moving right along, we want to take into consideration that we have the Board of Election Commissioners with us, but the next item was going to be a discussion, consideration of appointments to the Justice Center Oversight Committee. Chair Watts asked if we could just table that and wait until she is available. She just wanted me to ask again and mention if anyone has anyone that might be interested, please let us know and share those names, okay? So
Need a motion to do that, or can you just do that?
she said we can just do it.
Just do it,
Yeah.
okay, good.
Yeah.
Yep,
She
perfect.
said we can just do that. So moving right along to the next item. I don't know if it's supposed to be read by the clerk or anything, but it's a discussion memorializing resolution reaffirming the Armed Federal Immigration Enforcement Officers, ICE, so they may not intimidate voters or access non-public areas and polling locations. We have joining us right now, we have the... Yep. No, that's understandable. That's why I just wanted, because I know you guys, your plate is full, my friend. Your plate is full. So, but I am going to, let's see, defer to Legislator Block.
Yes.
All right, we'll just,
So, thank you for coming in to,
so we'll just give Ross for being joined by the Republican Board of Elections
Oh,
Commissioner.
Commissioner.
And gentlemen, when you speak, because it's being streamed, if you could just introduce yourself once when you first start speaking the first time. All right.
hi. So, this is a memorializing resolution reaffirming that armed federal immigration enforcement officers cannot intimidate voters or access non-public areas at polling locations in the county absent a valid judicial warrant or court order, and encouraging the identification and distribution of a protocol for responding to such presence, and encouraging the posting of Know Your Rights signage at polling places. So my first question is, I have it typed. There are spots within the polling, in each polling site that are private and public, correct? What is that? Can you explain, Dustin, do you want to explain?
Sure.
Okay.
Dustin Zarni, Democratic Elections Commissioner. So the polling place itself and extending to 100 feet away from the entrance to the polling place is deemed a protected space. The only people allowed in those spaces are Board of Elections personnel, voters and people accompanying the voters for assistance or family members, the poll watchers from the recognized parties and/or candidates. And finally, candidates are allowed to stop in what's deemed a quick visit. Those are the only people allowed in election law to be inside of an operating polling place.
Okay. Is that this? Would you agree? Do you agree with that, Commissioner Ryan? Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we were on the same, and I'm operating off of the correct stuff. I have within the Board of Elections. Are there plans in place in case of ICE entry into the polling station? And can I ask about what that looks like?
Well, I think what we would have in place is exactly what happened this last primary, when we received calls that individuals identifying themselves as ICE were entering a polling place. I immediately got on the phone, and both commissioners were in agreement. We were in communication. I was driving down. We got on the phone with, weren't we?
You give your comments, I'll give mine.
Sure.
Okay. We were in communication. I was driving down. We called the State Board of Elections. It notified them. And I called the Attorney General's office to notify them. But of course, by the time I got there, there was no presence anymore. The person that was asked about, that was talked to by the agents, I put her in contact with the appropriate personnel. I don't want to say that, I don't want to go into what our particular procedures are because they're security procedures, but there are steps in place that we would do, and we're expecting even broader conversation about that next week at our statewide convention about the state board is going to do several presentations, and this is going to come up, I'm sure.
Okay. Oh, so is this something that is coming down from the state, their direction, or is this?
No.
No?
In this situation, what happened was, and let me be clear, this wasn't an attempt at voter intimidation or to interfere with the polling operations or prevent anybody from voting. What happened was, and I found out about this after the fact, I was monitoring turnout, and I'd heard that we had gotten these calls in from a polling location, and my fellow commissioner went down there to see what was going on, and by the time he got there, they had already left. I got on the phone and tried to ascertain what was going on, and what I learned from my contacts with the Department of Justice and the Department of Homeland Security was that agents from out of town, it was called the Internal Affairs Division of Homeland Security, had come up because they wanted to serve some sort of warning notice to one of our poll workers saying that she was under investigation because of comments that she had made on social media that they had claimed had doxed a federal agent. Now, whether those comments were inappropriate or were doxing a federal agent, I guess is in the eye of the beholder. In my personal opinion, there was nothing wrong with what she put on social media. I don't question that. I think she acted properly. But in any event, Homeland Security sought to serve her with this warning. They went to her apartment, asked for her, and her boyfriend said she's not here. She's working at the polling places. They asked him what polling place he was at. She said, "I don't know." So they then called her on her cell phone. She told them where she was, invited them down. They came to the Central Library and were on the sidewalk and asked her to come outside and speak with them. She said she didn't want to go outside, that she was working the polling places, but that it was okay for them to come on in the polling place. And I guess coincidentally enough, they happened to be recording the entire encounter. So they were there at her invitation to serve her with this notice. That was entirely inappropriate. It was wrong as a matter of law and as a matter of public policy of both the Justice Department and the State Board of Elections. They should not have done it, and I am told that there have been internal ramifications for that. But again, I think that we need to be clear to the people of this community that this was not a situation where federal agents were going to a polling place to suppress the vote, intimidate voters, or do anything else. This is a great resolution, fine, pass it, don't pass it. I really don't care. There's laws on the books for this. It'll be discussed at the convention next week, because once again, what happens in Onondaga County seems to be the standard bearer for unusual election activities, and here we are, front and center of the statewide, nationwide media once again. But in any event, this is great. That's fine. Pass a resolution, don't pass a resolution. It's a memorializing resolution. I don't think federal policy is going to change by anything this body does or doesn't do. I know that we, as a Board of Elections, have procedures we put in place. We frown upon agents entering the polls for any reason. Obviously, if they're doing a law enforcement investigation or trying to stop a crime, that's a different story. But to show up like that without a warrant, that's not appropriate. Like I said, there are laws in place for that. You know, if we're going to be asked to print additional materials to alert voters of their rights, fine. I just ask that you put funding in the budget for us to pay for that.
I'd like to just add to that. I agree with the commissioner about the circumstances of the event and that it was wrong for those agents to enter the polling place, invited or not. You know, quite frankly, they're not vampires. They don't get to go anywhere where they're invited in. They knew that, or they should know.
No idea what they knew we didn't know.
They should know. I'd let you speak, Mr. Ryan, if you'd afford me that opportunity as well. They should know that entering a polling place is wrong. And it's obvious that they acted with disregard to the federal law on this. So I think a memorializing resolution sends a strong message that in this community that we are going to watch for this. I'm glad that Mr. Ryan agrees that we could post these Know Your Rights notices. I think we have plenty of room in the budget for it. But, you know, as you know, if election boards go over budget, kind of has to be paid for. So if you give us this resolution to pay for it, I'm sure we can work that out with the county print shop to be done pretty for only 150 polling places. I think we can make that happen. So I'm glad Mr. Ryan agrees with that. I think this is a great resolution. I think standing up for the rights of our citizens, whether they know those rights or not, is very important as well.
And I want to say for the record, I apologize for interrupting you. That was a pet peeve of mine, and I shouldn't have done that. And if you want to, again, I think this is a solution in search of a problem, but whatever, it's a notice to the voters. What's the harm?
Okay. So it sounds like you'd both be amenable to posting the signage. Doing this helps people know what is allowed and what isn't allowed. You guys have plans in place. I did speak with this person who was affected twice on occasion, and I had lengthy conversations about whether this person typically knows their rights and doesn't know their rights. She does. And the fact of posting signage was born out of this, because in a situation where you feel intimidated or threatened, which I think a lot of people might, regardless, be uncomfortable if law enforcement is approaching you, may forget things. I mean, you get flooded with emotions, you get nervous, you may forget. So I think comes from that, having a reminder of what is and isn't your right. So, sounds like you have a question.
Okay, yeah, I absolutely do. I want to say, I'm personally insulted that somebody who's approached by law enforcement, being a 20-year law enforcement member, may forget things when they're approached by law enforcement. I don't think a sign posted on the wall 30 feet behind them at the entryway is going to make them remember things. I think that this memorializing resolution is the smoke coming off a bonfire surrounded by mirrors to create a narrative that absolutely does not exist in this circumstance. Both commissioners just told us and explained to us the circumstances, and while they may have exceeded their authority to enter that, it sounds like the appropriate action was taken internally. We're not subject to know what the discipline of that is, but I think that this resolution does nothing more than to attempt to create a narrative that does not exist and further erodes a potential relationship with law enforcement. And while I'm not surprised, I'm embarrassed.
If I could address, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
All right, if I could address that. I understand your your position, Mr. McCarron. But I will say to you this. We could not have dreamed up this scenario before it happened in the first place. And we don't know what the next scenarios are going to be. And I can tell you from talking to inspectors that they have asked for more guidance. This is the #1 question in our inspector classes that are going on right now. I don't believe that this is something that is not wanted by the inspector community or by the voting public in general.
And in response to that, if I could, Commissioner Zarni, the fact of the matter is, what does the memorializing resolution serve to do? We have existing federal laws, 18 U.S.C. 241, 52 U.S.C. 20511, 52 U.S.C. 1038. I mean, all these exist already. What does the memorializing resolution choose to do to address that from Onondaga County to the
If I
federal
could
government?
address that, because he asked that directly to me. What this, and I,
Go ahead.
Just go right ahead.
Mr. McCarron, I understand that we do have,
Commissioner Zarni, I'm Legislator McCarron. Nice to meet you.
sorry, Legislator McCarron, sorry about that. I thought I was being, I was trying to be, I'll be more respectful. Legislator McCarron, we do have all these laws, but I can tell you, while you're able to quote those from your laptop right in front of you, not everybody has that ability. And these signs that will be posted in the polling places will be available for the inspectors. The inspectors will read them as they're putting them up that day. I can tell you, having I have signs in the polling place about whether people can show ID or not. Yes, everybody knows whether they have to or not, but having those signs has helped people put out the laws that we have. I think, I don't see any harm in it. I definitely see a help in it, and I wish we could come to some agreement on that. But if not, I respect your opinion, Legislator McCarron.
Thank you, Commissioner. And if the resolution simply was to put up signs and we removed all the other resolves, I might be more supportive of it.
Okay. Excuse me, I have a question, Commissioner. When these incidents happen, sometimes it's isolated, as you said, this might be new. The question is, whose responsibility is it to actually look at these incidents and to either offer, suggestions? Would that be the Attorney General's office? Would it be the New York State Board of Elections? Because I'd assume that they would be the ones who would look at this and actually try to.
I think it would be all of us. And it goes right to the county commissioners. It's the state board. It's the Attorney General's office. And that's why when this incident happened, I tried to get everybody involved because I didn't know what was going on at the time when I was driving down there. And in the aftermath, we were able to figure this all out because there were some questions about whether this was a hoax as well in the immediate aftermath of this. And I commend Commissioner Ryan's ability to get direct answers from Homeland Security as well. We were working as a team on this. That being said, we live in unprecedented and unusual times. There is no playbook out there. I'm hoping to get more answers at our convention next week. I'm always open to more answers and more thoughts from the community. And I think this resolution and others being passed in other communities are helpful in that discussion.
ICE has not come out of the woodwork per se, so this hasn't happened in any other county in New York State. There's been no other incidences, anything similar where these questions have arisen.
As far as I know, this hasn't happened anywhere in the nation. This is a unique situation that happened here. In my talking to advocacy groups and my contacts, this is the first time a ICE agent entered a polling place while it was operational. There were certain instances of people being out in parking lots across the street. Heck, we even had law enforcement happening across the street from Ross Towers on an unrelated incident that got people scared and calling our office. So this was a very unique situation. It was I hope, isolated situation, but I can tell you there is a genuine fear amongst inspectors, amongst poll workers, amongst voters. And I think anything we can do to tell people that we're on their side and that will help protect them is important.
Can I say something real quick? I do want to be clear, too, that this did not come up today without touching base with the sheriff's office. And they are supportive of this. And they are available to respond to incidents if needed, or people are nervous. They explained to me the policies around elections and how they might respond. And they said if anybody has concerns, they can call 911 that day.
However, they have no legal authority over federal law enforcement.
Right.
So, Commissioners, our next week is the State Board of Elections.
Yes.
And this will be brought up.
Yes, well, it'll be brought up by me if by nobody else, but it's been part of the planning discussions and will be, I can tell you this is a hot topic across our election community, and every convention or workshop I've gone to since the primary, it has been brought up, and it will be brought up next week as well.
Will it only be brought up, or will there actually be movement upon it where something happens to ensure that this is addressed in the future?
I hope there will be movement upon it. The state board is the state board, and they have their own processes to go through. They're working with the Attorney General's office. We've been part of calls as a community. I don't think people aren't working on it, so I don't want to give that tell you. I just don't want to promise you a date that something's coming down and then have that not happen. I believe before the election is up, we will have some better guidance, and I hope so.
Which is why I could understand it would be important for the individual counties, if something like this happens, to try to do something to reassure their residents and voters that they are at least taking the steps, even if it doesn't have any teeth, so to speak.
I believe that's true, Mr. Legislator Garland. Sorry.
Any other questions? Legislator.
Understanding now that this could be brought up at the state level next week, I would like to make a motion to table this until after that state meeting so we can get more information from both commissioners as to what decisions or policies were made there.
Legislator Black?
I think it's important to get this out as soon as possible. I understand what your concern is around that, but I mean, just given the fact that elections are, pretty much upon us, getting this out as soon as possible would be of importance.
I don't know.
Well,
There's a motion on the table, so I don't know if I can speak.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Well,
I'm sorry. I just want to quickly clarify. This is a discussion point. So if you're asking to table it, is it to table it so it's not being?
We're not taking a vote on this resolution today?
no.
Okay,
It was
never
just
mind. I withdraw my motion.
Oh, yeah, so I think
But I will say,
Thank you,
I was
Spencer.
entertained.
if I can,
Yes.
I don't want to give the impression that I believe that we're going to come out of there with all the answers next week. I don't. I believe there will be discussions. I believe, I will be pushing for a resolution of some kind from the state, but I can't guarantee that something is coming down. I believe it will, because I believe a lot of people feel strongly enough about this on all sides of the aisle, but I think I don't want to make any kind of mistake here and say that I'm coming back with answers next week.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
I don't have any more questions. So,
Well, thank you. It's
Yeah.
very informative. We do appreciate you, and also, Commissioner Ryan for attending, being civil. We do appreciate that. So does anyone else have any other questions? So, all right. Yes. Oh, yes. Hang on there. You got it? Yeah.
Do we have a plan for when this is going to be moved or voted on?
It's
potentially for September.
At session?
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
they're hoping to have, yeah.
All right, is it going to go to Ways and Means, or is it just going to go on to? Okay, all right, thank you. Thanks.
Then we'd have to wait until then to vote on tabling it, which we could, yes, which is, okay.
That would happen in sessions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did just get a text message from Commissioner Ryan, who apologized for having to leave. He got called out of the room by attorneys regarding an unrelated
That's
matter.
understandable.
So, just so everybody knows, I didn't make him too mad where he stormed off. So. Not that it was you, it was me. So.
No, it might have been me.
I find that hard to believe, Commissioner.
Very civil. Okay. Well, if no one else has any questions, thank you very much, Legislator Block, for sharing that with us. Thank you for the opportunity.
he's back.
Oh, we were just about to close, so just wanted
And I
to.
want to apologize. The reason I had to leave so abruptly is because my attorneys had been hovering outside in the hallway for 10 minutes to try and bring a resolution to this other dispute we have going on. And I didn't want to, and since I couldn't get my words in, I wanted to go talk to them because I know that the meter's running on the county dime, and I didn't want to have that go on.
Understand.
Again, I don't know what was said after I left, but my position is this. I left after Legislator McCarron had said his words. What I am afraid of and what concerns me about this entire thing is I don't want a signal to be sent to the voters of this community that they have something to fear from federal agents. This was not a situation where we have a practice and a pattern of voter intimidation or suppression by federal agents in this community. And when we pass resolutions like this, we're sending a signal that the people need to be wary. And I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's appropriate. And I think it is a misapprehension of what actually occurred on the day in question, which gives rise to this. I'm glad that you spoke with Ms. Taylor, our Board of Elections worker. But I will say, though, that this is covered in the inspector classes that they take. And, you know, I know that Ms. Taylor has a position on this. I think she has a GoFundMe campaign that's resulted out of it. So everybody has their 15 minutes of fame. I don't want to turn this thing into something more than it needs to be. And this is my concern with memorializing resolutions in general, because I got to be candid. I don't think that the federal government is going to change what it does because of anything that Dustin and I do at our office or this body does here. But with that, you do what you want to do.
I agree with that. I also just want to say, too, I mean, yes, this motion to move things this forward was driven by that, but there has been a lot of talk about who's going to be at the polls since as far back as March. And I think it's really important, and I think that the public has spoken about that too with me, is that they want some reassurance that things will be safe. So that drives it too. That's all. Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, thank you. And it's our understanding that you're going to have your convention next month. We would hope that you have that opportunity to bring this up, and maybe they can try to resolve it.
It's going to be brought up because we just last week went to a seminar on crisis management, and this is a crisis that, you know, there are, for all intents and purposes, 57 boards of elections statewide. The 5 counties of New York have the city board of elections, and they're the other 57 counties. This could have happened anywhere.
Yes.
And of course, it had to happen in Onondaga County.
And that in itself should be reassuring to all the voters, just knowing that you'll be talking about that.
Yep.
So if that being said, let's see. It's our final order of business.
Go back out.
It's been taken. Oh, thank you very much for joining us. Seeing as there is no business, can I get a motion to adjourn? Just a second. All in favor? All opposed? All abstained? Motion is carried. Meeting is adjourned until, I believe, 1 o'clock, September 2nd, for our next meeting.